This is Chris Lipe, JamPlay.com, lesson number 6. And today we are talking about the two basic minor chord forms, and we're going to be talking about basic bar chords. You're going to have a track to play along with, and I'm going to show you a couple different exercises pertaining to bar chords that are going to help strengthen your hand and make things more comfortable for you. So let's get into the minor chords before we get into the rest of that stuff, and you can check that out in the next section. All right, so you guys are at this point fairly comfortable with the idea of reading chord charts, so be sure you're checking the supplemental materials so you can check that against what I'm doing here. But I'm going to go ahead and explain these two chords. The first one is E minor, and the fingering I'm going to be using is going to differ from the chord chart. You can either use the chord chart fingering or you can use this fingering. The reason I use this fingering is because it keeps my first finger free so that when I move up and down with bar chords, as you'll see in a minute, you don't have to change positioning. But either fingering is fine. So here is E minor, and that is going to be third finger, second fret on your A string, fourth finger, second fret on your D string. Strum all the notes. Okay? You might also play it like this, or like this, really. All of them are fine, whichever is most comfortable for you. There's E minor. And remember the idea of doing the chord push-ups, where you're getting it placed, you're strumming, making sure all the notes are clean. Take your hand off, put it back on. Do that a number of times until you're comfortable with the way that chord feels. There's E minor, and again, you're strumming all the strings. One of the easier chords to play on the guitar, I think. The next is A minor, and to get from E minor to A minor, you're going to take these two fingers here, and you're just going to move them to a different set of strings. So it's going to be second fret on your D string with your third finger, second fret on your G string with your fourth finger, and then you're going to come over here and you're going to take your second finger, first fret, B string. You're not going to play your low E string in this case. There's A minor. Okay, here's E minor, A minor. So like we did with some of the other chords, it's not only important to practice them by themselves, but to practice transitions. So if you set a metronome or set a tempo, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's going to help you work the transition between those chords and make them a little bit more comfortable for you. The track that we're going to be doing here includes not only the A minor and the E minor, but it also includes G, C, and D. And so we're going to be expanding the amount of chords we have in the progression for the track. Go ahead and take a listen to the track and come back, and then I'll explain through the chord progression a little bit, and then we'll get into bar chords. So, bar chords. They're not as difficult as you might think. My goal today is to break down the basics of your two major form bar chords and help you with technique and help you with the understanding of how those are built. First thing to understand when we're looking at bar chords is that they're really just variations on chords you already know. And we're going to be working on the E formation and the A formation bar chord today. So stay tuned for the next section. Okay, so let's tackle the E form first. When we were first looking at the E chord, I had you fret the E chord like this, with your pointer finger or your first finger free. Now basically what we're going to do is practice moving this chord form around the neck before we even make it a bar chord. So take the E chord and then move everything up, keeping them within the same fret range, meaning you're going to have your second finger 1 fret behind your third and your fourth fingers, but we're going to move the whole shape up the neck, up to where our third and fourth fingers are up on the 12th fret. That's going to look like this. And then back down. I'm sorry, that was the 14th fret, not the 12th fret. Okay, so essentially what you're doing when you bar a chord is you're combining a bar technique with moving this same form around the neck. So here's that bar technique, and what I recommend is that you practice that drill that we just did, and look in the supplemental material section to get the exact tablature for that last drill. But here's the bar technique that you're going to use, and you're going to move that up from open all the way to the 12th fret when you practice. So make sure that when you're doing this, and we talked about hand position in another lesson, but make sure that you've got your hand position like this, where your thumb is directly between your first and your second finger, so it's supporting those fingers. And you're going to take your first finger on your left hand, and for this example we're going to use the 3rd fret. Place your thumb, join to the thumb on the hump of the neck, and then you're going to place your first finger over all the strings, and you're going to squeeze thumb to index finger, thumb to first finger. Do not put the rest of your fingers on there to support. You just want to be using your finger, because these fingers are going to be fretting notes over here for a chord pretty soon. So what you want to do, go to the 3rd fret, hold that down, and strum. Make sure all the strings are coming through cleanly, and then you want to do the same thing that you were doing before with the chords, doing that chord push-up idea. Okay, once you've got the 3rd fret down, then start open, then go 1st fret, which is going to be by far the most difficult, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, making sure it's clean all the way up the neck. And then back down. And again, the tendency down here especially is going to be to want to get all those fingers over there to make that nice and tight, but you can't do that because you're going to be using those fingers to do chords. So once you've done this exercise, the bar exercise, and you've moved your E chord around a number of times, it's time to combine them.